want to talk to you today about some people you probably don't think about. I certainly didn't think about. These are the hidden Americans, the people who make this country work, the people who everyone in this room and at this whole conference is dependent on in the most vital and critical ways. I wanted to introduce you to some of these folks and actually ask you a few questions. I have a little quiz to see how much you know about hidden America. Just keep a mental note of which ones you get right, and there's just 5 questions, so maybe you can remember. And anybody who gets them all right, I have a present for. So, okay, the question, this is a project I've been working on for about 5 years. The book just came out, Hidden America. From coal miners to cowboys, an extraordinary exploration of the people who make this country work. So, here's my first question for you. Well, actually, this is not a coal miner. This is me wondering about coal miners. And wondering about like these people we see behind our politicians posing, like coal miners. Really? We still have coal miners? Really? The only time we hear about them is maybe if there's an accident in a coal mine or something. And I started wondering, why do we even have coal mines? You know, that's a stupid question. How many coal miners, how many people in this country do you think are full-time coal miners? Nearly 80,000, nearly 60,000, nearly 40,000, or nearly 20,000? Okay, take your best guess. If you guessed nearly 80,000, that's an awful lot of coal miners. I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Well, there are people like this guy, Smitty. Here's Smitty. Smitty works underneath Ohio in the Caddis mine, where I spent about 6 months under there with him. I said, Smitty, I don't think people have any idea what you guys do down here. And he said to me, you know what, I don't think many people have too much of an idea about how this whole country works. That was the question that set me off on this whole journey. How this country works. Coal miners, okay, 80,000 of them. You know, every single time you flip a light switch, you're burning a lump of coal. Think of how many light switches we're talking about today, even just this evening, with all of our computers and all of our machines and all of our ideas. We're dependent, like how many light switches are in that cart, you know. There's people down there digging that coal every day, right now. And, you know, only they don't work quite like that all the time. That would be considered a good day. This is more typical. Now that is not, you know, like an old picture. That's a coal seam. It happened to be 3 feet high. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, the mine I was in was closer to 5 feet high. This is a 6-foot-high mine. I'm like, why are you people, what's up with these working conditions? Can't we, like, I was gonna call a congressman or something. I'm like, what is going on here? And, you know, they explained to me, duh, lady, a coal seam is a coal seam. You get what you get. You don't mine underneath, you don't mine above. You're not gonna mine rock, you just take the coal out. And this is how these people work, 10 hours a day. You know, and a lot of people ask me, since I was down there for 6 months, I get the same question over again, how could you stand it, or how could these people stand it? Going down 500 feet, like what is that like? And I just have so much to say about that, and I write a lot about it, but the main thing I want to say is it's not the going down. Okay, you see that elevator shaft? That's going down. That's just going down. What happens after that is you have to go to work. So they get in a train car, and they go for 45 minutes in to the coal seam where they're digging coal. It's the going in that freaks you out in a coal mine. But that's what these people do every day. And that's the journey I set off on. You know, now think about for a second how you even got here, right? How all of us got here. Probably you took a plane, or probably you take lots of planes. So I started wondering about, you know, all the flights that we all take and why they're not all bashing into each other all the time, really. Why are they not bashing into each other? Well, of course, because of air traffic controllers up in a tower like that one at LaGuardia Airport, where I spent a lot of time hanging out with the people there, finding out about that job. Now, what would you guess is the nickname for tower controllers? Are you going to guess radar gods, do they call themselves? Flight masters, sky choreographers, swivel heads? What would you guess that answer would be? And you maybe got it correct. Swivel heads. So they call themselves swivel heads, and there's a certain reason for that, because they are looking around in circles like owls, constantly, constantly, constantly. You know, every 45 seconds at the LaGuardia Tower, there's a plane landing or taking off, landing or taking off, landing or taking off. These people choreographing it like it was a dance. And that smile on that woman's face is not something you see in a control tower. That's a controller on break. These are the people, you know, these here are the people who make this country work. People like these controllers, you know, LaGuardia Airport, that's the tower that's been up since 1984. They just took it down and finally got their new tower. It was the most ridiculous place, the most ridiculous. Low-tech, analog, I'm talking water coming out of the ceiling, you know. They kept promising them a new tower, a new tower, a new tower. So we're not going to renovate this tower. Well, this is the way these people worked. And of course, the New York airspace is the most congested in the world. And these people are handling 30,000 flights each day in America. And they consider themselves, you know, what I loved about them was they consider themselves they kept using the metaphor, we're like heart surgeons. They kept saying, you know, a heart surgeon, you know, how many lives do they save today? 5, 6 at most? How many surgeries can you do? We're saving thousands of lives every single day. And they, you know, they were great because they were so committed. They really saw their work as a service. And, you know, I did too by the end of it. So now I ask you this question. How did everything at this conference and everything in your house, actually, everything you buy at a store, how did it get there? All right, so this brought me to truckers. This is Sputter, a trucker I hung out with. Here's a question for you. There are 3.5 million truckers in the United States. How many do you think are female? Would you guess 10,000, 25,000, 110,000, or 200,000? What would be the guess? Well, if you guessed 200,000, it's a lot. It's a female workforce taking over. And sadly, it's also a job, well, the truth is there are 400,000 job openings now in trucking. If you want a job, or if you know someone who wants a job, go be a trucker. This is an industry that's in pieces, and it's really actually a crisis. Sputter, who took me across the country in her long-haul truck, we stopped here at the world's largest truck stop in Iowa. Sputter she had a couple messages for everyone. First of all, she wanted you all to know that the Iowa 80, the world's largest truck stop, goes through 55 miles of toilet paper each month. And they advertise that fact. And she also wanted me to ask this question to everyone. She said, ask everyone, what if all the truckers woke up one day and decided to stop driving? Where would this country be? Where would it be? And she went on to explain that Walmart's 617 million square feet across 3,800 stores would soon empty. The 46 million chickens, 175,000 cows, and 443 pigs that Tyson slaughters each week would sit stranded on some highway. Amazon's $34 billion worth of stuff would remain in a warehouse. And we would continue to pump 378 million gallons of gasoline each day until the pumps went dry, and we'd all have to stay home. And America would come to a screeching halt. Truckers, these are the people who make America work. After, of course, we're finished with our stuff, where does it go? All right, this is paradise. This is the largest landfill in America, Puente Hills Landfill in the city of Industry, California. That's in Los Angeles County. I spent a lot of time in this dump. Now, here's a question for you. What best describes the attitude of the workers at the Puente Hills landfill? Would you say they're optimistic and content, bitter and resentful, angry and hostile, indifferent and uncaring? So I really give it to you if you get this one right. The answer to that is A, optimistic and content. You want to meet some happy workers, you go to the Puente Hills landfill. This is a surprise. This was my question as I stayed there. What is up with you people? 13,200 tons of trash every day dumped in this place. That is the equivalent of a football stadium, 2 stories high of trash. This is the Puente Hills landfill. This picture here. It used to be a series of canyons when it opened in the 60s. Now it's a mountain. It's a mountain. Of course, you'll be happy to hear that in America we make more trash than any other country. 250 million tons a year of it. We think of a landfill and we think, that is so disgusting. What is the matter with these people and that stinking trash? Who wants a landfill anywhere near them? Get it away from us. Please don't make us look. We forget, of course, that, that is our trash. We made that. We tend to blame the landfill for sort of sitting there and stinking like that when it's our trash. So, why are these people happy who are figuring out what to do with this trash? I will tell you, from the engineers down to the trash pickers, they were so proud of what they had figured out to do, how they had solved so many of the problems of our trash. So many of those problems were solved at the Puente Hill landfill, including gas, the methane gas, turning it into energy for all these Southern California homes. And honestly, it sounds like such a, I don't know, happily ever after story, but in some ways it is, because look, that is part of the landfill today. And this is us having a picnic on top of a landfill. Because they have hiking trails, they have riding trails. They've really solved a problem, a big problem. So these are some of the characters that I write about, the people who make this country work. Okay, finally, what are you going to have for dinner tonight? Maybe like most of Americans, I want you to know, a lot of Americans, you're going to have a steak. So here's a question for you. Which of the high-tech items do cowboys out on the ranges in Texas never use? Ultrasound equipment, microscopes, helicopters, smartphone. So that's an odd question, isn't it? Okay, well, here's the weird thing, helicopters. No helicopters out on this range. I'm like, really, people? I thought there'd be helicopters and ATVs and all this machinery. No, this is what it looks like out on the range. This Texas ranch, these guys wrestling up. You would have no idea what century you were even in. Now, I'm like trying to explain to these people there's technology you could use. You could use a ATV. And they explained to me, no, a cowboy is a cowboy. Not for some romantic sense, but because cowboys work like cowboys work. There's a reason they dress like this still to this day. You would have no idea what century you're in when you're out there. There's a reason they wear chaps and hats to protect them. And they work like this. I kept saying to them, how could you still be a cowboy? And they would say to me things like, that's like asking a rattlesnake why it's not a coyote. This is who we are. This is who we are. But the odd thing, too, what I loved about the beef culture, it's so entirely low-tech, but so entirely high-tech. The ranch I stayed on was a breeding ranch, the R.A. Brown Ranch, where they are designing the perfect steak. After those guys got in from the range and went into the barn, they worked under microscopes. They worked with ultrasound equipment. They took a bull, put an ultrasound on it, read the back fat on the back, showed me the computer monitor and said, look, it's a ribeye. And it was a ribeye right there in the ultrasound machine. That these people are breeding for the perfect steak, to bring us a perfect steak. And a bull at this ranch costs $100,000, a breeding bull. So these are the people. That's Jeff. He was one of the Cowboys. These are the people who make America work. A lot of people ask me, you know, why did you do this? I did a lot of other worlds besides these I've just shown you. And what's the takeaway? What are we supposed to get from this? You know, what do you get from these stories? And I can't really say stories have a life of their own, so everybody will take something different if they read this book. But for me, living through this series of adventures, I have to say, it's really challenged my inner spoiled brat. I feel like we walk around feeling, you know, especially as Americans, that everything is a right. Light is a right. If these lights go off, if this power goes out, it's like, what the hell? That is so not fair. You know, or if our steak is tough, what is the matter with you people? Or if our plane crashes, oh my God, really? Is anyone watching? We tend to think, you know, we deserve this. We're Americans. You know, give us our due. I think researching this book challenged that notion for me, and I think these are not rights at all. Of course, these are privileges, and they're built on the backs of a lot of workers who are not miserable, not complaining, doing the work that they believe is theirs to do. And I think that's sort of the take-home message for me researching these stories. And that's a brief introduction to Hidden America. Thank you very much.